What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Ogre Boy, and I'm going to be doing my review for the 2019 movie Black Christmas. The movie is directed by Sophia Tackle and written by her and April Wolf. And this movie follows a group of sorority sisters who are being attacked by a group of mass killers, and we find out that the reason they're being attacked and stuff and killed is because of some fraternity cult that they use some kind of weird magic to make them make it where all these guys are wanting to kill women and put them in their rightful place. And it's just a really stupid premise, and this is really an insulting remake. It's one of the if not the worst horror movie remake I've ever seen. It's definitely one of them. It's definitely, I probably could say that it is the worst horror movie remake I've ever seen. It's just totally, completely insulting to the original story. Yeah, I really hated this movie. The movie's only like an hour and 32 minutes, and it was very hard to get through. I wanted to turn it off within like the first 10 minutes of it. It just was really horrible, and they gave it a PG-13 rating, so that really also takes the movie down a lot, because the kills and stuff, of course, suck really bad. But I really just absolutely hated this movie. There are a few things about the movie that I thought were alright, like the cinematography was pretty decent, and some of the acting in here was pretty good, even though I didn't like any of the characters. I think the actors did a decent job playing them. Imogen Poots is the main character, and she does a decent enough job. She's never been one of my favorite actresses, but I don't think she's terrible, and I thought she was okay in here. Cary Elwes plays the main villain of the movie, and he's pretty good, although I feel like they wasted him on just a really bad story. And this could have been a really good remake had they tried a lot harder, but to me they just used the Black Christmas name mostly to sell the movie. They were like, okay, we use a Black Christmas name and everything, people want to see it, and it didn't work. It doesn't really hardly have anything to do with the original version of Black Christmas or the 2006 remake. Really, the only thing that it has to do with it is the sorority sisters. That's really about it. None of the characters have the same names, and one of the things I didn't like about the movie is like none of the characters are likable. There's not one character in this movie that I felt sympathetic for or cared about. All the ones that were getting killed and stuff, I didn't care if they died or lived, because they were just really unlikable characters, and the villains and stuff, you didn't really root for them or anything either. There was not anybody in this movie that was good, like as far as the characters go. I'm not saying like the performances. Yeah, they're just all really, like I said, none of the characters are likable. The whole twist and everything this movie had, they pretty much run the ending in the trailers anyway, and I was hoping that maybe I'd still enjoy this movie. I'd heard nothing but bad about it, and Black Christmas is one of my new favorite horror movie. The original one is one of my newer favorite horror movies. I just saw it for the first time last year, and it's instantly become one of my favorites, and I rewatched it again this year and just absolutely love it. And I thought I'd give the two remakes a shot, and the 2006 version was alright. I enjoyed it enough, but this movie, this just was not a good movie. Like I said, the cinematography and the cast were good, but it doesn't make up for the way the story is, and the whole all men are bad thing. It just was really cringy and annoying and everything. I know they were trying to get a point across and everything, but to me it just didn't work. And I'm not saying it just because I'm a guy. I just felt the story sucked. They could have done it and made it where it worked, but it just did not work with this movie. Now, I definitely wouldn't recommend it if you're a fan of the original movie. Personally, neither one of the remakes are really great enough to really, for me to say that I'd highly recommend either one of them, but I definitely would not recommend this one at all. Where at least the 2006 one, I'd say if you want to watch it just to see what it's like, it's worth at least checking out for that reason. But this one is just absolutely horrible, a terrible, terrible movie. It would have made a lot of my top 10 worst list that I did earlier this year and at the end of last year, my top 10 worst horror movies of the decade, or movies of the decade in general. This definitely would have been on both of those lists and everything. In fact, I think that they'd be for worst horror movies of the decade. This one actually probably would be my number one instead of Thanksgiving 3. This movie just was absolute garbage. I normally don't get like this when it comes to movies. I have to really hate them to say that they're total garbage and stuff, but this movie just is absolutely horrible. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I definitely would not recommend it. Now, I could go as far as to say that it's probably the worst horror movie that I've seen, and I would take the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which if you know me, like, everybody knows I hate the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I would rather watch that crap than ever have to sit through this again. This movie was just so horrible. I think I would rather eat a bag of dog crap, poop it back out, and eat it again than have to watch this movie ever again. It's just such a horrible, horrendous piece of crap. And I definitely would not recommend it to anybody. So I'd say I'd give Black Christmas from 2019 0 out of 10. And just don't waste your time with this movie. It's just absolutely horrible. But let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. Do you think I was too harsh on it, or do you think that you agree with me? Or let me know what you think of this movie, and hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.
Trick the halls with